So today I decided to make some taquitos, and taquitos are just rolled tacos, basically. It's a little form of a rolled type taco. And I'm doing that because I have some ground beef that needed to be either cooked and eaten or gotten rid of. Same with my corn tortillas here. They were getting a little old, a little stale, but that's okay because the cooking process for taquitos works quite well for some of those ingredients that may have languished away in your refrigerator. Now, truth be told, ground beef is not my favorite ingredient to use for any kind of taco, but I've got it, so I'm going to use it up, and I'm just going to get it in a pan, get it seasoned up, and get it browned up. I want a nice bit of browning on it, because browning is where the flavor is. We all know that. And while the meat sits and browns, I can turn my attention to a vegetable. This is another ingredient that has kind of been forgotten about in my fridge. And I actually like a bit of cabbage with my taquitos or tacos. Just lends a nice little bit of crunch, and a healthy bit of vegetable is good as well for all of us. And in just a few quick minutes, the meat is looking pretty nicely cooked and browned up. And I went ahead and cooked all of this meat, although I'm not going to use it all. I'm just going to make a few little taquitos here for lunch, but I'll put it in this bowl so that the meat will cool down and use part of this ground beef for another meal. And with the ground beef all cooked up, I need to just clean out my pan a little bit. I like to do that with this natural bristle fiber brush. I find it works really well with my carbon steel pan here. Just a quick little brush out, and it'll be ready for our next step. And our next step, of course, is getting our nice clean pan back on our stove and back on the heat. And I'm going to add some oil here, and I'm going to use a couple different kinds of oil. Extra virgin olive oil, which is what I use for most everything. And I'm also just going to add a little bit of some bacon fat. And this is just some rendered bacon fat that I have left over from cooking bacon. Just put it in this little jar and keep it for future use like this. And yes, I am using a spork, because we all know that a spork is the perfect implement for all of our cooking and eating needs. Now our next step here is just to fry off these tortillas in our hot oil for just a few seconds on each side. And this is an important step because without this we wouldn't be able to roll up our taquitos into their little rolled form. But also this kind of lends itself to using up tortillas that are a little old and a little stale. Once we do this, it'll kind of rejuvenate them. So this is a good meal to keep in mind if you've got some stale corn tortillas kind of hanging around. Now, since I'm making just a light little lunch here, I'm not going to need all of this ground beef. So I'm going to take a little bit of it and put it aside into my fetching little orange container here. This will be dinner later. And now I'm just going to add a little bit of this guajillo salsa into the ground beef. It'll just give us a little bit of extra flavor for our taquitos. Yeah, I've been using this guajillo salsa from Trader Joe's quite a bit lately. It's really got a nice flavor to it, although it's not spicy at all, but it does have a nice flavor, so I think it'll work nicely for our taquitos here. And with our ground beef nicely seasoned up, this is a good time to get our pan back on the heat and warming up with just a little layer of oil in it. And now we're going to need just a few toothpicks for our final step, which is rolling up our little taquitos into their little rolled form. So we'll take some of our filling here, being careful not to put too much. And also it's a little easier if you put the filling kind of off-center on the tortilla. It makes it a little easier to get it rolled up and to keep the filling inside the taquito. And then we'll just roll this up as tightly as possible, kind of like a cigar, although I don't know why I said that. I don't smoke cigars. But anyway, to keep it held together, we're just going to use one of those little toothpicks. And that's it. Then we'll just work our way through the rest of our prepped up corn tortillas and filling. And I do want to point out here that we're able to roll the tortillas up this way because of that initial fry has kept them nice and pliable. The other thing to keep in mind is you're kind of guessing on the filling. So if you have a little bit of extra filling left over, well, you can figure out how to make that disappear. And now our taquitos are ready for their final fry in our little bit of hot oil in our pan. And getting them cooked off takes just a few minutes. We're just going to roll them around the pan with the idea of getting them nice and crispy on all sides. And while I'm waiting for the taquitos to get nice and crispy, I'm just going to clean up my dishes a little bit. You know the saying, clean as you go. Or you should know the saying, clean as you go, or, cleanliness is next to godliness. All of that kind of thing. Once the taquitos are mostly cooked, I find that it's easier to get that toothpick out. That way I can roll them around and make sure that I get them nice and crispy and golden brown on all sides. And you can try to thread in the toothpick in a little different arrangement, but I just find this works easiest just to stab them straight through. But as you can see, they're ready to go now, nice and golden brown and delicious all the way around. Now this is ready to eat as is, but I'm going to liven it up a little bit by adding in some of this Yellowbird Serrano hot sauce. This is just the best stuff. It's my favorite hot sauce of all. And I like to add a little bit of extra something to the cabbage as well. I think the cabbage can use a little bit of acidity. So sometimes I might squeeze a little bit of lemon or lime in it, but as long as I've got some of this Serrano sauce, I'm going to use that. And of course the same applies to the taquitos themselves. While they're good on their own, they're even better with a little bit of that Yellowbird Serrano, what I call the world's best sauce. Yeah, this is just about perfect. Well, I'd like to say that this video has been brought to you by Yellowbird Hot Sauce, but it hasn't. This is just the hot sauce that I buy for myself because it's my favorite. Hey, thanks for watching, everybody. I really appreciate it.